The classroom went quiet the moment she laughed. Not the nervous kind of laugh. Not the awkward one students use to hide discomfort. This laugh was sharp, deliberate, and loud enough to make sure everyone heard it. I was standing at the front of the room, holding my notebook with shaking hands, when my teacher looked straight at me and said, "Let's be realistic. People like you don't end up in universities like that." A few students snickered. Others stared at their desks. No one defended me. My face burned, but I didn't cry. I had learned early that tears only made it worse. That day, I went home and stared at my reflection for a long time, wondering how my skin had already decided my future for her. Welcome to her secrets, her stories, where real-life inspired moments reveal hidden strength and powerful lessons. If stories like this matter to you, please subscribe to the channel and support our growing community. And leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, or your name and age. Your support truly helps this channel grow. I was 17, a black girl in a school that liked to call itself diverse, while quietly deciding who was worth believing in. I loved learning. I always had. Books were the one place no one could interrupt me or tell me I didn't belong. But that teacher, Ms. Harper, seemed to take personal offense to my ambition. Every time I raised my hand, she sighed. Every time I answered correctly, she double-checked my work like I must have cheated. When I told her I planned to apply to one of the most prestigious universities in the country, she smiled in a way that felt like a warning. "Maybe you should aim lower," she said. "Set goals that match your background." That sentence followed me everywhere, in the hallways, on the bus ride home. Late at night when I tried to study and heard her voice instead of my own thoughts. But something inside me refused to shrink. If she expected me to fail quietly, she didn't know me at all. I started studying before sunrise and after midnight. I worked weekends. I borrowed books I couldn't afford. I applied for every scholarship people told me I had no chance of getting. When rejection letters came, I folded them neatly and kept going. Ms. Harper noticed my grades improving, but instead of encouragement, she accused me of trying too hard. "You don't want to disappoint yourself," she said one afternoon after class. I looked her in the eyes and replied calmly, "I already know how that feels." Senior year arrived faster than I expected. Acceptance letters started appearing for other students. People celebrated loudly. When my mailbox stayed empty, doubt crept in. Maybe she was right. Maybe the world really had limits for girls who looked like me. Then one evening, an envelope arrived, thick, official. My hands trembled as I opened it. I had been accepted. Not just accepted, fully funded. A scholarship based on academic excellence. I screamed, I cried, I laughed until my chest hurt. The next day, I told no one at school. Not even Ms. Harper. I finished the year quietly, letting her believe she had been right. Sometimes silence is the strongest response. University was harder than anything I had ever known, but it was also freedom. Professors challenged me without doubting me. My ideas were debated, not dismissed. I thrived. I graduated at the top of my class. And 1 year after walking across that stage, diploma in hand, I received an email that made my heart stop. A teaching position at my old high school. In the same subject. In the same classroom. I stared at the screen, realizing life was about to complete a circle I never expected. I didn't tell anyone where the job offer came from. I just accepted it and packed my things, my old notebooks, my memories, and the version of myself that once sat in the back of that classroom, trying not to be seen. Walking back into that school felt unreal. The walls looked the same, the lockers were still dented, and the smell of disinfectant and chalk instantly pulled me back in time. Teachers passed me in the hallway without recognition. To them, I was just another new hire, younger, black, quiet, exactly the kind of person they never imagined standing on the other side of the classroom. On my first day, I stood outside the door, hand on the handle, heart pounding. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. The room went silent. Students stared at me the same way I once stared at substitutes, trying to figure out who they were and how much power they had. I introduced myself calmly, writing my name on the board in clear, steady letters. Some students smiled. Some looked skeptical. I recognized that look. Halfway through the class, the door opened. Miss Harper walked in. Older now, same posture, same expression of authority. Her eyes landed on me, and for a split second, confusion crossed her face. She didn't recognize me. Not yet. She sat in the back to observe, arms crossed. I continued teaching, explaining concepts she once said were too advanced for students like me. I watched her eyebrows tighten as students engaged, asked questions, and understood. After class, she approached me with a forced smile and said, "You handle the material well." I thanked her. She paused, then added, "Where did you study?" I looked at her and said the name of the university she once laughed at. Her smile froze. "Really?" she asked. I nodded. On full scholarship. Something shifted behind her eyes. Over the next few weeks, she visited my classroom often. Sometimes she criticized minor things. Sometimes she said nothing at all. But I could feel it, the discomfort. The quiet panic of realizing the world hadn't followed her expectations. One afternoon, I overheard her speaking to another teacher in the hallway. "These schools are lowering standards," she said. "Handing opportunities to people who aren't prepared." I knew she was talking about me. The old anger tried to rise, but it didn't fit anymore. I wasn't that girl standing at the front of the class, humiliated. I had proof now. Not just a diploma, but confidence she could never give or take away. Then came the faculty meeting. Administrators gathered teachers to discuss curriculum updates. When it was my turn to present, Ms. Harper interrupted me. "I'm not sure this approach is appropriate," she said. "Some students simply don't have the capacity." The room went quiet. All eyes turned to me, waiting to see if I would shrink. I smiled politely and continued speaking. I presented data, graduation rates, test scores, improvement trends, all from my classroom. Numbers don't argue. When I finished, the principal nodded approvingly and said, "This is exactly the kind of leadership we need." Ms. Harper said nothing. After the meeting, she stopped me in the hallway. Her voice was lower now, less certain. "You seem ambitious," she said. I met her eyes and replied evenly, "You taught me that." She frowned, clearly unsettled. The realization was coming. Slowly, painfully, and I knew it was only a matter of time before she finally remembered who I was. Because some lessons don't end when the bell rings. They wait. The moment she remembered me didn't happen all at once. It came in pieces, a name on a document, a glance that lasted a second too long, a memory she couldn't quite place but couldn't ignore. One afternoon, while reviewing old records in the office, she looked up at me and asked, "Did you go here?" I nodded. Silence filled the room. Her face changed, not anger, not disbelief. Something worse, recognition. She cleared her throat and said, "I didn't realize." I waited. She didn't finish the sentence. Days later, she asked to speak with me privately. Her voice wasn't sharp anymore. It was careful. "I may have been hard on you," she said. "But it was for your own good." I smiled gently. "It taught me discipline," I replied. "Just not in the way you intended." The truth was, I didn't need her apology. I had already outgrown the need for her approval. Soon after, the administration announced changes, new leadership roles, curriculum leads, mentorship programs. I was offered a permanent position and a chance to train new teachers. Ms. Harper was not. She remained where she was, watching the school move forward without her at the center. Karma didn't shout, it reassigned. One day, a student stayed after class. A young black girl with nervous hands and tired eyes. She told me a teacher had said university wasn't realistic for her. My chest tightened. I sat with her and said, "Your future is not decided by someone else's fear." I helped her apply for programs, scholarships, summer courses. She left my classroom standing taller. Later that week, I passed Ms. Harper in the hallway. She looked at the girl walking beside me, laughing, confident. Our eyes met. She understood then. Not just who I was, but what she had failed to be. On graduation day, I stood near the stage as students crossed one by one. Among them was that girl. She looked at me and smiled, holding her acceptance letter high. The room erupted in applause. I didn't look at Ms. Harper. I didn't need to. Because the lesson was never about revenge. It was about replacement. Replacing doubt with evidence. Silence with excellence. Prejudice with proof. Talent and knowledge will always outgrow small minds. And sometimes the most powerful response isn't arguing back. It's coming back stronger, smarter, and undeniable. That day, I walked out of the school knowing one thing for certain. She tried to limit my future. Instead, she prepared me to teach others how to take theirs back.